Understanding. I wanted to have a go at defining understanding and to see how it would contrast against Leo's perspective when he makes his video or episode about it. Since the ground-shaking awakening that I had, where even the God realization collapsed back into the undivided one, I do my contemplations from the direction of creation as opposed to deconstruction. So starting with the one, a singularity, infinite, indivisible, ineffable, undefinable, a mystery of which nothing can be said because it is no thing. I call this being or absolute awareness. This awareness is inert. It's not aware of anything. It's dim in content but blissful in nature. Simply being, still and unmoving. It is no thing, but not nothing. There's nothing that it lacks, for it is complete. There's no such thing as nothing. It is not void or empty. Infinity is full and endless, pregnant with potential. There is an inevitability baked into that boundlessness itself. It's so endlessly full that it overflows. Like a cup, infinitely full of water, nothing forces it to spill, but its very fullness ensures that it does. Being infinite and boundless, it cannot find an edge, so the only option is to turn inward and self-reflect. Being that it is the only thing that exists, it can only be aware of itself. As it is no thing, there is nothing there to grasp, like a hand trying to grab itself, or asking the question, what am I, when I'm invisible and cannot see my own face? Imagine a mirror with nothing before it to reflect. There is no image, no object, yet the mirror is still the capacity to reflect. Eventually, in the absence of another, the mirror turns inward, and in doing so, it reflects itself. But with no surface to grasp, the reflection becomes an imagined one, the first form arising in formlessness. This turning back in on itself creates a toroidal field. This field has been called the light or the ocean of consciousness. The word consciousness means with knowing. It's the process through which awareness attempts to know itself. Being boundless, awareness can only encounter itself, but to do so it must create an imagined boundary. A knower and the known. The ocean of consciousness, or the field of light, the Godhead. It imagines itself into being, becoming the first thing awareness can explore and contrast against. God is not what the one is, but what the one does, its first and principal attribute. Absolutely everything occurs within this imagined ocean of consciousness. All ideas and forms arise from it and return to it and are one and the same as it. Not the one itself, but a oneness, a likeness or an analogy of it. A thought ripples the still ocean, creating a wave of energy in motion, inert energy until provoked. This energy in motion is emotion, and emotion provokes action or manifestation. The whole, though we speak of it in imagery, is an infinite mind, a mental mechanism or process. All the objects and phenomena we perceive are symbolic representations of these mental mechanisms. Through the mechanisms themselves, they are intangible. Everything we see in this universe is an analogy, a likeness of the one, a oneness but not the one itself, an imagined concept that points to the one in contrast. This movement folds back in on itself, forming a feedback loop, a toroidal field of self-knowing. In this division is born the first distinction, the first contrast. The ocean of consciousness is an infinite oneness, not the one itself, but a likeness, an imagined reflection. It is an infinite mind with the capacity to imagine anything, to make distinctions, to divide and define. It can zoom endlessly into subdivisions, proliferating like fractals, becoming more varied, more individual, further from oneness. A mind that can explore through infinite expression or get lost in it. Everything that arises from the ocean of consciousness is a holographic fractal of this mechanism. The development of understanding mirrors this same process. The first flicker of understanding. The concept appears the moment there is a perceived distinction between observer and observed. This is the self-reflection stage of awareness. Just as the mirror imagines an image to reflect, the mind imagines something out there externally to be understood. The simplest definition is that understanding equals the relationship between awareness and a perceived form. From here, awareness embarks on its long journey through the ocean of consciousness, creating contrasts, opposites, distinctions. It understands by comparison, hot from cold, light from dark, love from fear. But all such understanding is relational. It exists between awareness and form. Relational understanding is partial. It can describe, explain, compare, but never be what it points to. Eventually, awareness realizes the exploration is endless. You can go into greater complexity, to infinity and beyond, and so it stops. Distinctions dissolve. Understanding itself collapses. In the end, final understanding is not a definition, but a recognition. Awareness knows itself not through contrast, but by simply returning to being itself. It could not know this without the detour of exploring through consciousness, without experiencing all of what it is not. So just to recap, understanding is the relationship between the One and its exploration of every infinite possibility that the One itself is not, which is the imagined or the Godhead. It fully recognizes and understands itself when it stops all imagining and returns to just being. It's like a black hole. We know nothing of it until it comes into contact or relates to or affects the objects around it. Before that, it remains hidden, invisible, and unknowable. Human understanding. If the source contemplates through fullness, God and people contemplate through fragments. We divide and dissect to see how something works, zooming in, seeing how smaller parts interact. At the surface, understanding means, I get it, I can explain it back to you. This is the colloquial layer. It's useful but vague. If we go deeper, cognitive understanding involves comprehension, which means grasping meaning or implications. Integration, connecting the new with prior knowledge or experience. Application, using it in context to create or act. Without integration, it's just memorization, and without application, it's just inert knowledge. If we go deeper still, we have epistemic depth. This refers to how well a belief or piece of knowledge is supported, integrated, and able to survive a challenge. At this level, philosophers speak of explanatory depth, placing understanding into a coherent framework that resists collapse whenever it is questioned. But there is a warning here. A belief can be logically airtight within its own worldview and still be self-deceptive. It's protected by a person's bias, selective reasoning, or emotional investment. Without direct experience, such understanding is false. It is mistaken for reality. This is where we use the saying, The map is not the territory. And so, direct experience. Direct experience is lived, accepted, acknowledged, without the need for defense. A person living from direct experience doesn't need to justify it. They have already met reality face to face. From here, understanding becomes a felt clarity, an aha moment, where the unknown reorganizes itself into a lived pattern. You create a relationship with it. Deeper still, you become it. You can replicate it because you understand its mechanism and it is integrated into your being. It becomes something that you do because it is a part of you, like driving a car. You struggle with the reality of the car when you first come into contact with it. But over time, you begin to see the relation between you. When you turn the wheel this way, the car directs itself this way. You integrate your understanding of the mechanism into your being, and driving becomes something that you do. At the far end, understanding dissolves entirely. This is non-conceptual knowing, where knower and known merge. The word itself becomes only a placeholder for unity. You're not just driving the car, you're the entire experience and the witness. Everything is an extension of you. If you notice, this essay has two distinct sections, one expressive and poetic, and the other is analytical and dissecting. The first is from the perspective of the source, expressive before it becomes entangled in the self-deceived Godhead. The second is the Godhead, exploring the infinite fractal iterations of its distinctions. You can explore and express through infinite worlds, and you can get lost in them. It must believe everything is real for it to hold it in its consciousness as a form, but sometimes this deception can become delusion. In the end, all paths of understanding, poetic or analytical, expressive or dissecting, point to the same no thing. The seeker in the Godhead roams infinite landscapes, searching for what it already is. The source simply rests, needing no search, no defense. True understanding is the collapse of understanding into being, the silent knowing of the One, recognizing itself as infinity, having explored an infinity of things. And you can only understand that if you have been there. So how do you get there? Become still and let go of all knowing, and simply be aware of what is. Simply be awareness. Simply be.